Thanks to Grammarly for sponsoring today's video. After successfully landing on an alien planet, the protagonist began the search for alien life. This may sound like a line from a science fiction drama, but it's actually based on real-life events, and they are still ongoing. The protagonist in question is the Perseverance rover. The alien planet is Mars, and the life it's searching for are the fossilized remains of ancient bacteria from millions of years ago. In mid-2021, it attempted to collect rock samples which could contain precious evidence that life can indeed form on other planets, that we are not alone in this universe. But when you are entering the uncharted, it's what you don't know that poses the greatest risks. I'm Alex McColgan and you're watching Astrum. Join with me in the third video in this series as we explore the months of June to September 2021 of the Perseverance Mars mission, which covers the rover's first attempts at collecting samples on Mars. And I'm afraid to say, things were about to not go as planned. Perseverance landed on Mars in February 2021. Unlike the rovers that had gone on before, it was not primarily designed to find evidence of conditions that might allow life to thrive. Perseverance was here for the real deal. Its mission was to find life on Mars, but it did not begin right away. After an incredibly successful landing, it spent the next 4 months staying fairly near its landing site, testing its equipment and helping another machine on Mars, the small Ingenuity drone helicopter, to carry out its mission. We covered this time period in the last video, which you can check out here. Now it was finally time for the Perseverance rover to do what it had come for, to begin its hunt for rock samples in order to locate alien life. And to that end, on the 1st of June, it set off traveling on its path through Jezero crater. Millions of years ago, a massive object had crashed into the surface of Mars. The resulting crater was hundreds of meters deep and 40 kilometers in diameter, and due to the different geological conditions that existed back then, it soon began to fill up with water. In time, this crater became a massive lake and earned the name Jezero, which, somewhat unimaginatively, literally means lake in some of the Slavic languages. Massive rivers began to run into the Jezero crater, carving valleys through the terrain and depositing all the resulting silt over huge deltas. This is why Jezero was selected as the site for Perseverance's mission. If life worked the same way here as it does on Earth, this location could be rife with possibilities for the emergence and propagation of life. As Mars is now a barren wasteland, the kinds of things Perseverance is looking for would not be immediately obvious. Any life that swam in Jezero's lake would have lived, died, and fallen to the lake bed, where accumulated silt from the river would have buried it in hard rock. So, to help it complete its mission, Perseverance came equipped with a drill mounted on a 2-meter long robotic arm, capable of either abrading away surface rock to reveal their inner layers, or even coring samples of that same rock about the size of a stick of chalk and placing it in a sealed tube. With its ultraviolet spectrometer Sherlock, or its X-ray fluorescence spectrometer Pixel, Perseverance had the cameras and tools it needs to find, image, and collect sample for later retrieval back to Earth. However, it is important to choose targets carefully. Perseverance has limited resources available to it. It only has just over 30 sample tubes for storing rock cores for the return journey home. Tempting as it might be to just grab a sample from right where it landed, Perseverance needed to only collect samples from the locations most likely to provide evidence of signs of life, or offer particular insight into the formation and age of Jezero crater to pinpoint better possible locations for later. As such, Perseverance did not start drilling immediately, but instead began traveling south from its landing location at Octavia E. Butler Landing, named after the science fiction author, to the area known as Cratered Floor Fractured Rough. Although this location was less than a mile away from Perseverance's landing site, Perseverance would not arrive at this new location for nearly 60 days. This is because the unfamiliar, rocky surface of Mars is strewn with obstacles for a rover. You'll notice the rocks that are scattered over the Martian surface. Perseverance would need to pick its path carefully around these, as the rover's 52.5 centimeter diameter wheels can only drive over objects that are so large. Soft terrain poses just as many dangers. The previous Martian rover Spirit came to an unfortunate end after getting stuck in a sand dune. So choosing its path is a balancing act, not too hard and rocky, but also not too soft. And in the past, these decisions would have been made on Earth with a 20-minute average signal delay. No wonder the previous rovers had travelled so slowly. However, Perseverance had gotten an upgrade compared to Spirit and Opportunity. Advanced AI software called AutoNav on the Perseverance rover allows it to map out its surrounding environment and choose for itself the best path through it. Although there is still some oversight from Earth, this greater degree of independence, which Perseverance can do on the fly while driving, allows the Perseverance rover to travel 6 times faster on average than the speeds of rovers like Curiosity. This brings its top speed to an astonishing 0.12 kilometers per hour. Alright, this is not that fast. I did say that it nearly took 60 days to get a little more than a kilometer's distance. However, this is a significant improvement and allows for more science to get done. And speaking of science, on the 20th of July, Perseverance successfully managed to navigate its way to cratered floor fractured rough. Taking things slowly, scientists picked out a rock to first test Perseverance's abrading drill systems. The abrade attempt took place on a paving stone nicknamed Guillaume, and it was a simple success. The drill cut away the top and gave scientists insight into the kind of stones that Perseverance was driving on. By examining grain sizes, chemical composition, and other details, scientists would gain insights into the type of rocks these were, either sedimentary, the kind likely to contain fossilized remains and other artifacts, or igneous rock formed from magma. What they saw heartened them, and on the 6th of August, scientists picked out another target rock, nicknamed Roubion, to take their first actual core sample. Due to the time zones involved, it was only 2 AM Pacific Daylight Time when over 90 engineers and scientists gathered online to witness the fruits of their years of labor. Perseverance cored successfully down to the 7 centimeter depth it had been programmed to reach. It photographed the hole afterwards, and everything seemed to be going fine. Over the next 6 hours, Perseverance painstakingly took the core, placed it in one of its tubes, and moved it to its adaptive cache-in assembly, the place where core samples are processed. Due to the nature of the mission, it's vitally important that no contaminants be allowed to enter the tube, or else it might invalidate the entire process. Finally, Perseverance transferred the now sealed tube to its storage unit. Scientists were elated at this perfect first-time success. But then more data came through, and scientists realized that there was a problem. The sealed tube was empty. Confusion filled them. Where had the sample gone? Due to the limits of technology, scientists could not record on camera every movement of Perseverance. It only has so many cameras. So they had to rely on Perseverance to follow the orders they sent it. But here it seemed that Perseverance had followed its orders, and yet the weight sensors in the storage unit informed them that the tube was missing any additional weight. The core was gone. Perseverance drove backwards and looked between its tracks, but there was no sign of a dropped core. In time, scientists arrived at a bittersweet conclusion. Perseverance had not malfunctioned or done anything wrong, it was the rock itself that was to blame. In the act of drilling, the unique nature of the Roubion rock meant that it was so crumbly that when Perseverance had gone to pick the core sample up, it had completely turned to dust. Perseverance could not collect it in that state. Scientists had tested Perseverance's coring on 100 different types of rock on Earth, and it had never encountered a problem like this before. Every other rock had been cored successfully. So while this was good, because it meant that Perseverance was not broken, it cast a shadow over the rest of the mission. Would all the rocks Perseverance encounters be failures like this? However, NASA was not about to give up without trying. They reasoned that the rocks in this area were likely particularly weathered, and other rocks on Mars might hold themselves together better. It was with renewed determination that Perseverance had another go. Casting its camera around, Perseverance spotted some rocks 150 meters away that were as different from the crumbly paving stones as possible. Scientists nicknamed these new rocks Citadelle, which is French for castle, possibly hoping for something a bit more fortified this time. As these rocks were sticking up from the landscape, it seemed reasonable that they were made from sturdier stuff than the flat paving stones. If they resisted erosion, they might do a better job of holding themselves together under a drill. Perseverance trundled over to the ridge and primed itself for another attempt. On the 1st of September, NASA once again held its breath as Perseverance attempted its second core attempt. You really get a sense of how painstaking this process is, given the month-long gap between each attempt. Everything on Earth has to be checked and double-checked, every scrap of data analyzed for the perfect conditions. Every decision is carefully thought out and discussed. Would it work on the second attempt? Perseverance's drill collected a core that was 6 centimeters long, and, possibly with wry exasperation, before sealing the core in a tube, Perseverance brought it round and added an additional step. It took a photo of what it held, to confirm to everyone on Earth that it was actually holding a core this time. Scientists must have felt a huge relief as data came back that Perseverance had successfully taken the core and transferred it to its storage area. The core, nicknamed Mondenier, was ready to be taken back to Earth on a future mission where, in a larger lab, its secrets could be better analyzed. Perseverance took another core sample that day, just to be absolutely certain. They were possibly feeling on a bit of a roll, and who could blame them? We are now one step closer to knowing whether life ever existed on Mars. Although this sample is just the beginning, and may not have any signs of life in it, we have stepped a little further into the uncharted, and know a little more. It will still have to be analyzed. We've not proven anything yet. But as long as there are still empty tubes to be filled and energy in its battery, Perseverance's mission to find evidence of alien life will continue. Ever wonder what goes on behind the scenes with Astrum videos? Well, an exciting upgrade to my workflow that I've recently added is Grammarly. Grammarly not only tells you if you've misspelled something or if you got the grammar wrong, but a fascinating, helpful aspect of the free version is the ability to detect the tone of your document. When you upgrade to the premium version, their tone transforms adjust your tone to make you sound more confident. Is your word processor of choice telling you there are no problems with a document? Think again, a lot can be improved, and this tool saves time and takes your text to the next level. For example, their premium clarity full sentence rewrite feature helps you reword wordy and run-on sentences. You can also use it anywhere by downloading the desktop app. Get through those emails quicker and your work by keeping it concise, confident, and in the right tone with Grammarly. Go to grammarly.com/Astrum to sign up for a free account and get 20% off Grammarly Premium today to help you work more efficiently. Thanks for watching, and thanks to my patrons and members for their support. If you found value in this video and channel and want to support too, with the added benefit of getting your name added to this list, check the links in the description below. All the best, and see you next time.